It was on the 3rd of February, 1916. And as I've told you, we lived in the apartments that had been provided for the Speaker of the House. And just as we were coming out of that bathroom, we saw my father running upstairs at such a speed. I had never seen Dad run upstairs in my life. And he screamed, "Sauvez-vous, le Parlement est en feu." We were absolutely petrified. So one of the maids, who was called Eugénie Bélanger, took me in her arms. And Mother came out of her apartments and said, "Albert, what's the matter?" So he said, "Sauvez-vous, le Parlement est en feu." So Mother screamed to her friends who were still in the living room. And there was a little staircase that separated the level upon which the staircase landed and the upper part of the apartment, which was the living arrangements for the master of the house. So Madame Bray and Madame Morin, who were two of Mother's guests, another one was also a guest, but she was still in her room. They came to find out what was the matter, what was the commotion. So Mother said, "Please, come with me. The Parliament is on fire." And they said, "But we must go and get our furs. We must go and get our jewels." Mother, I can still see the picture. That little staircase, like everything else, had a bright red carpet. And on each side there was a brass railing. So there was Mother, kneeling on that short staircase and holding her friends by their dresses. The women's dresses were long in those days. And I can still see her. She was very young, she was only 34. And I can still hear her telling them, "Je vous en supplie, je vous en conjure, venez-vous-en," and they tore themselves away from her. And what could be done? At that very moment, along the corridor that led to the apartment for the children and the maids, there were some windows that were overlooking the reading room. And all those windows burst out at the same time. And it made quite an explosion, of course, and the blackest and deepest smoke that you can imagine came out of there. So he said to Mother, "We are going downstairs because we cannot stay here a moment longer." So we went downstairs. But Dad was terrified at the thought that Mother's friends were still there. And he wanted to go and get them, but it was impossible because the smoke was so dense. And Mother was screaming. Poor Mother, she was beyond imagination. "Albert, don't go there, you will die." And so finally, somebody prevailed. And he came down. And there were we, on the grounds, in front of the Parliament buildings. It was one of the coldest nights of the year. It was, I don't know how many degrees below zero. Everything was icy. There was no possibility of, and there were very few cars in those days. So there was I, in my pajamas, Mother in an evening gown. My sister couldn't have cared less because she was bundled up in that little blanket. But the two maids were wearing their white uniforms. Well, something happened, and Providence usually sends somebody, you know. The next memory I have of this particular incident was seeing Mother, who had lost 2 shoes, running on the ice, screaming, "Albert, où es-tu?" and screaming for those friends of hers, and she had no idea what had become of them. But somebody bundled us into a carriole, a sleigh, which was horse-drawn, of course. Somehow, somebody found the coat and somebody found a fur hat, and we were taken to the Château Laurier. Mother was taken to the Château Laurier in another sleigh. I, my sister, and the two maids were in the first one. When we arrived at the Chateau Laurier, it was the full of the session, so there was no room. Somebody thought of one little room that nobody ever wanted, because it was very, very small and badly located, but it was better than nothing. So we were taken there. Françoise, I can still see her, was on the bed, playing with her feet, 11 months old. She had not a care in the world. The two maids were petrified, literally petrified. And Mother was praying to all the saints she knew and a few she had not heard of yet. Of Mother, Dad, thinking of that. And I was looking out of the window. And I can still see that. The window was immediately in front of the tower. That was then, the one at the present one is much higher, but there was one even then. And the Parliament was ablaze. I had never seen anything like that, needless to say, but there was I, and suddenly I heard the strike of midnight, the 12 strike, 12 strokes. And on the 12th, the whole thing collapsed inside in an incredible blaze of flames, and, well, I can still see it as if I'd seen it yesterday.